The Atlanta Dream finished the 2025 WNBA season with a 30-14 record. They were tied with the champion Las Vegas Aces for the second best record in the league behind the Minnesota Lynx. They had a busy offseason leading into it, bringing in a new front court with the additions of Brittney Griner and Breonna Jones, as well as signing rookie head coach Karl Smesko. Although they lost in the first round of the playoffs, they established a sustainable play style throughout the regular season and in their postseason matchup against the Indiana Fever. So what went right for the Atlanta Dream in 2025? They were second in both offensive and defensive rating, trailing only the Minnesota Lynx in both. Their net rating of +10 was double that of the New York Liberty, who were in third. They were middle of the pack in offensive efficiency and slightly above average defensively, while dictating the tempo of the game with the second slowest pace in the league. Even with the reduced pace, they were third in the league for assists per game, with no player averaging more than 5.7. This means they get to use the big word starting with E, egalitarian. Thankfully, this recipe means we can't point to the numbers and we'll have to dive into the film, but let's look through the roster first. You probably have to start with Alicia Gray, who's now in her third season with the Dream, and has been an all-star in each of them. She finished fourth in MVP this season, third in most improved, and made it to the All-WNBA first team. She chipped in with 3.5 assists and her volume increased while her efficiency skyrocketed. She took an offensive role that she's never had before, yet did so within the team's selfless system. Next off the rank, and I really wanted to start with her, is Rhyne Howard. She's averaged either 15 or 15.1 field goal attempts in each of her 4 seasons in the league, and her immediate impact on the team and the league has become a hallmark for the Dream. This led to an all-defensive selection in 2025. She chipped in with 4.6 assists and was jacking up nearly 10 threes a game. At 32% from deep, it doesn't look that good, but when you factor in how many grenades she's handed in this offensive system, that number isn't reflective of her true three-point shooting ability. 2024 WNBL MVP Jordan Canada led the team in assists at the aforementioned 5.7, and the 3 guards were top 3 in assists and all top 4 in scoring on the Dream. The frontcourt was likely expected to score more than they did, but with the production from the backcourt, this reliance wasn't necessary. Breonna Jones chipped in with 2.2 assists and 3.1 offensive rebounds per game, second in the league to only Angel Reese. Her work on the inside on both ends is that of a traditional big, and her footwork is second to none. Brittney Griner brought a great dynamic with Jones as the Dream started the season with a twin big attack. The most memorable and illustrative mark of the team this season, however, was when she moved to the bench so Naz Hillman could start. It was a sign of great leadership and selflessness on Griner's part and propelled her team to play for each other even more to round out the season. For Hillman, she was coming off 2 WNBL seasons, earning all WNBL team selections in both, which made way for her 6th Woman of the Year selection in 2025. She added a respectable 3-pointer to her arsenal and bumped her average attempts up to 3.8, after attempting a total of 6 across her first 3 years in the WNBA. She was right in tow of the 3 guards for assists, chipping in with 2.4 and embodying everything about this team. Alright, let's look at the end of the first half of this July game against the Minnesota Lynx in Mini, where the Dream were able to create a bit of separation on the scoreboard against the hottest team in the league. At this stage of the season, the Lynx were capital F flossin', entering the game with a 22-4 record, with 0 of those losses being at home. For what it's worth, Minnesota finished the season with a home record of 20-2, so the Target Center was an absolute fortress. It also feels like the best way to showcase Atlanta's strengths is to look at a stretch of play rather than extract individual plays. Their ability to go on runs was ultimately the difference at the end of a game, and they didn't need much time to create this buffer. And what better opponent than the best team in the league? As the commentator said,
space for Collier, and she turned around and once again dropped it through. 11 points now for Collier.
This possession is off a made basket from Mini's franchise player in Nafisa Collier, who gets another massive momentum play on the steal. The Dream quickly reroute the ship, as this transition opportunity eventuates in 2 sideline out-of-bounds passes for the Lynx. On paper, this isn't the best outcome for Atlanta with McBride shooting an open 3, but the Dream get what they want. The key is impenetrable and they go under every screen. Although they're okay with giving up this shot, the air ball from McBride was a stroke of luck for Atlanta. Canada then brings the ball down and pace is the name of the game. Everyone plays the team's concept perfectly on this play. They set up for Gray to make an Iverson cut, but that leaves the strong side open and Canada forces this into a mismatch by using the Hillman screen. So now they have the option of a Hillman post-up against the guard and Canada attacking the big off the dribble. She opts for the latter and attacks the gap closest to the Lynx' other big, which causes her to naturally drop as her instincts are to protect the rim, and this leaves Griner wide open at the top of the key. The line and length on this shot from Griner are perfect, and the fortune of the bounce match that. Next defensive play ends up being a quick one, but the Dream stick to their idea. Nothing inside, go under on screens. Again, they do this against an elite shooter in Bridget Carlton, but she isn't one to take movement shots off the dribble, so giving up this deep 2 is ideal. Even if she makes it, the ball is taken out of bounds and the Dream get to stay in control of the tempo and keep the game on their terms, while only giving up 2 rather than 3. This is the only time Atlanta pushed the pace in this final stretch of the half, and it's in large part due to the fact that Canada knows she can draw a foul, stop the clock and hit 2 free throws, keeping the flow out of the game. The Lynx move players and the ball exceptionally well here and are really trying to speed up the game, so there's a stark contrast between what each team is trying to achieve. Courtney Williams is adept at hitting these, but even still this is another ideal outcome for Atlanta. Even Grina's outlet to Canada looks like she's inbounding the ball from the baseline. They then walk the ball up and call a set that keeps everyone involved, but everything is done at a controlled pace. If you were to turn this game on now and watch this play first, it would feel like the Dream are in the driver's seat. They play off Grina's post presence, but she's hip to the ebbs and flows of the game and kicks it out to Hillman, who swings it, and they enter again to Grina, who draws the free throws with 8 on the shot clock. The Lynx then run another play, and this time they opt for a quick hitter in the mid-range closer to the basket. They call Atlanta's raise but lose the hand. This is a much more favourable look for Minnie, getting a great catch and shoot player in Carlton a very clean catch and shoot look. Even on this play, Shatori Walker-Kimbrough goes under the Collier screen, but that could have been in part due to how strong the screen was. That one probably should have dropped, but again, make or miss, that possession is a win for Atlanta. The Dream then dragged the clock down to 6 seconds before a turnover. Obviously this isn't what they were going for, but even their turnovers are somewhat beneficial during this stretch, as it eventuates in a side out rather than being a live ball turnover, and a potential transition opportunity for a Lynx team that wants to run. Minnie then run a play that flows into a pick and roll, and this is the one time Atlanta goes over on the screen, which Williams makes them pay for as Smith has a clear lane to the hoop, and not only is Grina out of position, she's playing 1 or 2 and she isn't the fleetest of foot. The one time Minnesota is able to break the lines, they generate this look. So this is what the Dream have been stopping over the last few possessions. For this play, in terms of the shot clock, it's what Atlanta was going for, but Canada driving against an agile guard definitely wasn't what they drew up. Either way, they're rolling now and Canada gets an awesome southpaw lay. Here they get back to their principles, going under on every screen. Another great fluid set by the Lynx, and this is close to being executed perfectly, but Atlanta are able to come away with a steal, and even with the Lynx in a scramble, Atlanta keeps the game at their tempo. After a deflection out of bounds, the inbound play is a culmination of what Atlanta's been wanting to get to. Step 1, strong ball screen that causes 2 mismatches. Step 2, feed the hot hand, in this case Grina, and use her gravity. Step 3, get an open look. They hadn't been focusing on the 3 ball, but it worked out for them on this play. This next play by Minnesota is a really bad attempt at a 2-for-1. The Dream stick to their principles, going under on the screen, and Williams shoots a deep 2 on a 0 pass possession. On the flip side, this is excellent clock management by Atlanta, running the pick and roll with 8 seconds on the shot clock. They get the mismatch on the screen and feed into Grina, like clockwork. BJ misses the shot but follows it up and buys them another second of time, which forces Collier into this situation, which the refs end up calling a turnover with a fraction of a second before halftime. So that was a really good example of how the Dream were able to get games on their terms. They ran simple offense and went with what was working, and pulled the strings defensively. What we looked through was a 12-2 run, and as impressive as the 12 was, the 2 is what won them that game, i.e. the defensive end. Who knows when the WNBA will return or how it'll look, but the Atlanta Dream really proved themselves as one of the best units in the league. They established an incredible foundation to build upon moving forward. If they can keep their core together, they could be looking at their first playoff series win in a decade.